Exclamation, everybody. Welcome back to Sunday Ramblings in Cube World. It is, right now for me, Saturday, November the 16th. Saturday night, actually. So this will be going up tomorrow, hopefully, as usual. And I've decided today to just explore some more. We did a lot of work with the castles. There is another castle that I want to revisit, and I definitely want to actually conquer a castle at some point here. Just right now, I want to switch it up a little bit, do a little bit of exploration, and see the sights that there are to be seen here. And in the process, this is going to be a relatively on-target episode, I think. I've been trying to target at half an hour, and I've been going well over that. So I think I have a timer here, and I'm going to try to keep to it this time around. But I think the theme of today, I think I should start a drinking game here, where every time you hear the word space today, well, you know what to do. Parents kids get your parents' permission first. So yes, this is the space episode. Space. Because I have lots and lots of games that I want to talk about as far as that goes. So I'll start off here. First of all, I've mentioned a couple times that I pre-ordered the X Rebirth game, and I believe I mentioned that a few times. Maybe I didn't. Maybe this is the first time I'm saying it. I pre-ordered it. It came out yesterday, and I played it for about a half an hour just to get a feel for it. I haven't recorded yet or anything like that, but I just wanted to, before I started recording it, I wanted to see the mechanics and see if it's something that is something that I want to get into, which is a weird thing to say, because honestly the X games, I really do want to get into them, but they take, from what I've read, hundreds of hours before you finally get to a point where it's you're really making progress in that game. So, and I actually, along those same lines, there was a Humble Bundle a few months ago for the EgoSoft games, and I picked up pretty much all of them. So I have X Beyond the Frontier, I have X2 plus the expansions, plus X3, and I think it had an expansion as well, possibly. And then of course I've bought or just pre-ordered X Rebirth, and what I can say is I remember X Beyond the Frontier coming out back in the 90s I believe. Yeah, it had to be, because I remember I was in college at the time, and I played the demo and didn't really get into it enough to put money down on it. Being a poor college kid, it was like, gotta really, really be into something before I would have put money down for it. And I think the real problem with it is the exact same. Well, let me rephrase that. I came to the same. I couldn't remember when I picked it up. When I picked up this bundle, I couldn't remember why I didn't like the original game, and it became abundantly clear after about a half an hour of playing it. I remembered why I didn't like it. It was essentially there's a huge learning curve on it, and it's one of those games that it just dumps you right into the game and says good luck, which normally I'm not too afraid of doing. I mean, Christ, I play Minecraft after all these years, And that's a wiki game, right? There's no in-game, hey, go do this, go do that type of thing. But in this one, there's a lot of lag time, a lot of downtime where you're just doing nothing. Literally, you're just flying between star bases and trying to trade, and it takes a while before you can really get into it. And nowadays, I seem to be, a lot of these games like that I look at, these sci-fi games, I sort of look at them as, how could I record what I'm doing? I still do play games that I don't record, just for fun, but with the limited time I get, most of the games I play I want to record so that I can have some video for you guys. And I've always been kind of unsure. I wouldn't say always, but I'm unsure in this particular case as to how I would do that. Because when you have a slow burning game like that, basically I would record the first 10 minutes of all the intros in the story, and then cut it, and then come back in 40 hours into it and say, oh, by the way, now it's getting interesting. Welcome back. I'm 40 hours into the game. So I'm not sure how one would go about doing that, honestly. So and from what I understand, most of the X games are that way. Although I hear X3 is probably the best one of the series. And these are just things I've heard. I haven't played it yet. I have them installed, but I haven't actually dug into them really. I tried digging into X2, and it was the same kind of deal. It was a little bit better as far as the interface goes. Well, it was a little bit better. Again, it was very overwhelming. It reminded me a lot of the reasons why I don't play EVE Online, because, spreadsheets in space, not really my thing. And this felt very much like that. So when I heard that X Rebirth Egosoft was going to redo it so that it was a little bit easier for newcomers to jump into the game, and the mechanics weren't so hardcore, I guess you could say. That was very appealing to me, because it's not that I don't like the hardcore mechanics and the space simmy type things, but I can only take so much of it before I get tired of it. You know what I mean? For someone like me that doesn't necessarily have thousands of hours to, sink into something, I like to be able to jump in for an hour or two and come out of it knowing that I've made progress. And I guess that's always the rough spot with me, is that if I can't make progress in 2 hours of playing a game, I start to get really frustrated, and then I wonder why I start to wonder why I've bothered with it. So that's kind of where I stand with the X Rebirth thing. I didn't really actually talk about it, did I? So I started to that's where I stand with the X series, I should say. X Rebirth, I just played, as I said, about half an hour of it. And there's a couple things that are preventing me from actually recording anything yet. Number one is, and this I was warned of well in advance of pre-ordering, is that apparently Egosoft has a really bad QA record. Incredibly bad. Every game that they've put out is buggy as hell, but then they eventually go back and fix it. So a lot of people I know wait for a few months to a year before they actually purchase one of the X games to, wait for it to get patched up. And they, in Egosoft's, positive corner there, I was able to install all their old games without any problems. It actually recognized all my stuff and works fine. So they do keep supporting it. They do keep patching it. Just that initial push is really rough. And that appears to be the case this time around as well. I saw in Reddit that there were people mentioning that there were performance issues, and I do see those as well. I get between 40 to 50 frames per second on a normal space flight, and then during combat it does drop down to about 20 to 30. So it is a little bit rough around the edges. But so that in and of itself would probably prevent me from actually recording right now, because I know I'm going to take a hit in FPS as soon as I hit the record button. So I'll have to wait, I know, in that case, for some performance tweaks to come down. But the thing that was really ticking me off even more, the input scheme is just wrong. So what I mean is, I have my joystick plugged in. I also have my Xbox 360 controller plugged in, but I don't have it turned on. In the... Ooh, that's a legendary. Nice. In the menu for X Rebirth, the input, they clump together the joystick and the Xbox or controller keys and stuff. They just clump them together. They say this is the same category for both, which is kind of weird for number one, but I can sort of see where they're going from. I mean, they are almost the same principle. But, and this is the thing that bothers me even more, my joystick is completely unusable for the game. And this coming from a company that I plugged in my joystick for all their other games, you know, even their original game, and it worked beautifully. Like, it was mapped correctly and everything. I didn't have to do anything to it. And this game is like, some of the things were mapped to button 32, and I'm just, you know, kind of odd because I only have 12 buttons on the joystick, so I have no idea what button 32 is. Button number 1, the trigger button, you can't map. It does not recognize it at all. I tried mapping it. It has no idea what that button is. So, I mean, I can understand that it may not recognize the fact that I have a 4-axis joystick, or that there's 12 buttons, and maybe it would only recognize 2 axes and maybe 3 or 4 buttons. But for crying out loud, if it doesn't recognize the trigger button, the whole point of having the damn joystick, then something is really wrong. It's pretty damn bad. I mean, I can sympathize. I'm a programmer. I can sympathize that no programmer likes to do regression testing. But if this game got past QA without a functioning joystick where you can't even map the number 1 button, the main button, something's really wrong. So I was playing the game with the mouse and keyboard, which is fun in games. I need to change the sensitivity on the mouse because it's, you know, by default, and I don't know why games do this. Every game that I've had does this. By default, it's, you know, move your hand halfway across the continent before you just to do stuff. So I usually have to crank the sensitivity all the way up to maximum. I didn't do that, so it was a little sluggish. And the first combat I got into with 2 bots, I just got completely owned. Just, you know, there was not even a chance to get a shot off on them. So I'm waiting for that to be fixed. That was a bit frustrating, especially given that I've been playing Wing Commander Saga to try to, train myself on the joystick again and get used to it and everything else, because we've got a couple of these space-based games coming out, these space sim games, and I just really wanted to get focused and get my muscle memory going. And immediately after playing that half an hour of X Rebirth, I went back and played 3 hours of of Wing Commander Saga. So it's just funny to see how botched that is. But anyway, that is my space update for X Rebirth. Anyway, another space game, Space Engineers. This one from Keen Software House, the guys that did Minor Wars 2081, which I actually have. I own Minor Wars. I haven't ever recorded anything. I to be honest, I played it for about 10 minutes and I haven't been back to it. And it's not because I don't want to go back to it. It's just that my initial 10-minute experience was just terrible. The performance was so atrocious, like 2 frames per second, that I just sort of gave up on it. Now I know it's been patched since then, and I really should go back and take a look at it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I did get in on the early access to Space Engineers. I saw that they tweeted out a message, so I was one of the first round to get in on that. So I did jump into the game for a couple minutes just to take a look around. But you really do, they have videos and stuff that you're supposed to watch before you do it, just to figure out how to do things. And that's really where I stand with that. I need to sit down and watch those videos, because I seriously didn't know what to do at all in there. So I will do that, and then hopefully I'll have something that is video worthy at some point. There's so many games that I want to play right now and record that, I'm having to prioritize based on what I've got. So that's pretty cool. You should go check that out if you... I should probably actually talk about what the hell Space Engineers is. I am jumping ahead of myself. I'm all over the place today. So Space Engineers is essentially run around in space and build stuff. Build ships, build space stations, one block at a time right now. They're not the first ones to do it. There's another one out there that does the same thing, that the name of which escapes me at the moment, which is pretty bad because I follow it. But there's so many things in my head right now that I can't extract it. It's very much in the same vein as that. It's kinda sorta Minecraft in space, but I'm not gonna belabor that at all, because it is different. Particularly with the physics engine, one of the really cool things that got my attention is that you could basically go crash your ship into an asteroid or into another ship, and you have realistic or semi-realistic physics in the game, so you actually blast through things. So that's pretty cool if you want to go, if you're looking for some kind of sandbox game where you build space stations and ships and fly around in it. Certainly go check that out. And continuing with the space theme, and for that matter, the sandbox theme, Space Base DF9. It's in early alpha right now. I don't know if they have released an alpha. I think I have it downloaded, but I don't think I've actually run it yet. So I have to go look at that. Actually, I think it's on Steam Early Access. I think you have to buy into it. It wasn't that much. But essentially, this is a game from Double Fine, so they're fairly well known. And from what I can tell, it's basically, I don't know if anybody has played this Startopia, where you are managing a space station. You build out and manage your people and try to keep everybody happy. It's like a roller coaster tycoon in space type of deal. It's, like I said, more closer to Startopia, which is a very similar concept where you had a space station and you had all these aliens coming to visit your space station, and you had to make it into a hub of trading and defend them and all kinds of stuff like that. It's the same deal, and it looks pretty cool. I haven't, like I said, dug into it at all yet, but it's something that's on my radar and I'm just keeping an eye on. And so before I do any more space stuff, let me update some of the Kickstarter things that I've been tracking. Unsworn, which was the sci-fi RPG, sort of in the vein of Crusader, No Remorse, No Regret, that type of thing. I did a video on it and whatnot. I got a email from Kickstarter recently that they just canceled their Kickstarter. They weren't doing very well. They had only raised $3,056 out of the $60,000 that they needed, and they only had about 5 days left. So I think there was no explanation as to why they canceled, but if I were to venture a guess, it's because they weren't getting the kind of traction that they needed. I did do a search around, and those sentiments seem to be the same from posts that they've made on other forums. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully they'll continue forward and maybe they'll try their luck again. It was just they need to really get the word out a little bit better. Have to figure out a way to do that. The Memory of Eldarim, that is doing well so far. They are up to, that is the RPG open world RPG game that I've been trying to record, and I can't. I don't get enough performance to record it. It's too choppy. That is, if you're into that kind of thing, it's very similar to, it's sort of, so it's an action RPG. It's sort of like a Skyrim type of thing, but if Skyrim was an action RPG, and a third person at that. So that's pretty cool. And they were just raising money mostly for art assets and not for anything else pertaining to the game. They've got a lot of things done already from a programming perspective. So that's pretty good. They're up to $20,670 out of $150,000, and they've got 21 days left. So you should go check them out if you're into that kind of thing. The Mandate. I'll do another update on those guys. They're up to, this is the another sci-fi RPG game. It's set in a sort of a czarist Russian type of, Confederation dealio. That's my explanation right there. Where you're basically a disavowed captain, starship captain, who now is being called upon to sort of put down rebellions and save the empire, that type of thing. Redeem yourself. That is at $272,450 out of the $500 grand that they're looking for. They have 15 days left, so they're doing all right. They need another big push, I think, to get over that hump. And they're releasing like little snippets of things all along the way. There's a Starship Creator on there, which I really should do videos of. I saw somebody else did a video of them, another YouTuber, and they're actually really cool. I just didn't get a chance to do it myself. But basically the ships are all like destructible from a micro destructible. In other words, you could destroy pieces of the ship, and you can see like bodies fly out. You know, people fly out of into the vacuum and you know, punch holes in the ship and that kind of thing. So that's really cool. They have a second one a second little demo thing that they released that I played on the web. That gives you a little bit more of the story. And then there's another one that's a text-based game that you just released, a text-based preview. Again, these are all story previews that they released that I haven't played yet, but apparently that's pretty cool too. So if you're looking for that, that's a very ambitious game. That's not only space combat but also ground combat. Taking over, boarding operations, that kind of thing. So that's very ambitious. That'll be really cool to see that in action. Hopefully, if that's the type of thing you like, go take a look at them. And there's a couple more Kickstarter updates, but I am going to save them for later because I'm getting close to my timer here. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. And I'm going to try to stick to 30 minutes from now on, which means I got to talk a little bit faster. So I will thank you for watching again, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Space, 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 space.